Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Flannery, I mentioned in my opening statement how important I think to not have a one-size-fits-all regulatory environment coming down from federal highways. You mentioned in your opening statement that a variety of states, that you're one of which is my home state, that you've seen action on. How important is it to retain that, to reject that one-size-fits-all and give the flexibility that each state needs? I mean, obviously, West Virginia's needs are not the same as Arizona as he tells the story. So how important is that?
Sure, happy to answer. So one of the challenges with a one-size-fits-all is I think it limits our understanding of the range of threats that do affect highway assets. For example, we talked about things that happen in Colorado with extreme rainfall and monsoonal air masses. Those aren't quite the same threats that would affect like the state of Florida, for example, where we worry a lot about hurricanes and sea level rise. So understanding the range of threats that affect assets is really important, and they vary greatly across the country. But also understanding the maturity of data systems within agencies. So some agencies are a little bit further ahead of the curve, some are a little bit behind. And so having sort of a very rigid program might be challenging for those who aren't quite ready to jump into the boat with fully to embrace the program. So I think flexibility is very important.
As you're seeing now as the PROTECT program's rolling out, are you finding that the flexibility is in that program?
Yes, I think so.
Good. Let me ask this question. How can, as you see, you just mentioned this, that state DOTs are tackling this in different ways and at different rates of speed. How could they focus on to get their efforts to move forward more quickly, and how can the Federal Highways Administration help them with that?
So the one thing that we do benefit from as an industry is Federal Highway and the Transportation Research Board and AASHTO have been aware of this, this challenge that we have to our system and have been developing guidance and research over the past several years on the topic. Now we're into the point with the dedicated funding sources to actually become into implementation. So we're seeing the hiring of new staff, we're seeing the expanded duties of staff to begin to address resilience. And I think that is helping tremendously for states to begin to accelerate implementation. And so they're looking for opportunities, in particular in West Virginia, for example, we're looking at opportunities throughout the life cycle of projects and throughout the agency to actually engage staff with these resilience concepts. So whether it be maintenance and operations all the way through to design, there's an opportunity to engage and to include resilience in those decision making.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Hondula, let me ask you, I was interested to hear about the cool pavement, and you described that in your opening statement. Just curious, how are these reapplied? How do you think they're going to be reapplied? And you know, it's a new concept, I guess. Are you just doing it experimentally, or are you planning to expand that?
Yeah, thanks, Senator Capito. As I noted, we've been very proud of our work to evaluate the Cool Pavement program with university researchers. But as you note, we still are in the early stages. Our street transportation department would say that we have moved beyond the pilot stage. We've seen sufficient success in terms of how the material is bonding to the road surface, how residents are perceiving, how it's performing in real-world conditions, which we can't learn from a laboratory. So we have upgraded it into a full-scale program, but we are continuing to learn about how well it will perform over time. One concern, for example, is that the reflectivity will degrade as cars drive on the surface, as it weathers. We need to learn more.
You mean it wears down?
It will become less reflective as it becomes dirty. Just if we, same if we put a piece of paper on the road, it would become dirty as well. So we need to understand how the long-term performance evolves to know what the right scale of investment is, at what pace, and see if we are achieving those cost savings that are possible with the reduced thermal wear and tear of the asphalt.
Well, keep us up on that. That's very interesting. Mr. Parsons, you did a good job describing the challenges of the heat on our workers, and I think that we want to make sure we have as many laborers working as possible, and one of the ways to do that in safe and healthy conditions. One of the ways we can do that, I think, is to get permitting reform, which I mentioned in my opening statement. I know that you all, as an organization, have been supportive of permitting reform. I didn't know if you wanted to make a statement on that in terms of how it impacts the number of workers and how many workers are actually engaged. Since we have these permit delays, is this an area of concern for you?
Yes, thank you for the question, Senator Capito. Absolutely. Permitting, while important, should never get in the way of progress. And we are all about workers going to work safely and also workers going to work as soon as they can, shovels in the ground, rub them on the road. So we never want to see permitting get in the way of progress or active work. And as a matter of fact, I've actually seen permitting get in the way of some safety interventions on roadways. I'll give you a prime example. Everybody knows what a Jersey barrier is, a concrete barrier on a road that protect workers from the traveling public. That'll be spec'd in, it'll be paid for, even in a low bid environment in federal highway system. And then permitting will come through and take it out. And there's workers out there exposed to hazards because of that permitting. So
Wow.
absolutely, anything we can do to streamline permitting, although sometimes important, especially for safety, as long as it's safe out there and we can streamline it and not hold things up, absolutely, I agree with you.
Thank you.